Greetings, revolutionary comrades. We are Esther Lee,
Kevin Lee,
Jocelyn Paisar,
and Mark Lee. Today we present to you Breaking the Gender Barrier, Maria Kim's journey to define woman in politics. We hope you enjoy it.
My name is Annie Ellers. I originally came to Korea in 1886 as a missionary. Back then, women were still largely ruled by rigid Confucian principles.
It's in the nature of a wife to be subservient to her husband, just as a subject must be subservient to his king. Thus are the three bonds and five relationships of a virtuous society.
These ideals then manifested themselves through social customs and taboos that confine women to their traditional roles as housewives.
Did you go outside of the house without my permission? Don't you dare talk out of return, you disgraceful whore. You're a woman. Now get out of my sight before I have to beat the respect into you.
The common belief was that women should not even attempt to participate in outside events, much less politics.
As it should be.
Even Sunjong, the Emperor of Korea, confirmed this notion.
there are many things that should be punished. Sons who mistreat their fathers, lowly men who disrespect their betters, and women who lose their virtuousness.
In order to empower the young women of Korea, I founded Chongshin Girls High School in 1887, and soon the need for female political activism made itself known.
On this day, August 29, 1910, I, Emperor Sunjong of Joseon, yield the throne to the Emperor of Japan. Henceforth, all of my subjects will be loyal servants to the Japanese Empire for the peace and prosperity of the realm.
The Japanese occupation had begun, but not soon after my educational efforts would also bear fruit in the form of Maria Kim.
My name is Esther Hwang. Maria and I first met in Tokyo as part of the female student club there. However, even as advocates for independence, we women were expected to play second fiddle to the men.
Well, I'm sorry, Maria. I really can't afford to be distracted right now. So why don't you just go and acquire some funding instead?
I was actually wondering if we could work together on the declaration, Kwang-soo. It's an important document, and I think a fresh perspective will help increase the political impact.
What? You? That's unheard of. A woman shouldn't try to interfere in men's business, much less politics. That's not virtuous at all.
This is a time of national crisis, and still you refuse to consider us as equals in the fight for our country. Perhaps if you were less virtuous, Korea would not have been colonized in the first place.
On February 8, 1919, the entire Korean student community proclaimed the Declaration of Independence, but not a single woman was among the authors of the Declaration itself. This provoked a profound realization in Maria. From then on, she would dedicate her life to the political liberation of Korean women.
We must continue to stand on our own two legs and fight on the foundation of our own determination until we can accomplish freedom through our own efforts.
Maria took it upon herself to smuggle copies of the Declaration into Korea. She used a kimono to hide the files. Upon her return to Korea on February 15th, Maria quickly became one of the chief organizers of the domestic protest movement.
I've traversed the country and seen leaders in every province ready to take a stand for our homeland and our people. Still, our work will not be done until we, the women, take back our country at last on March 1st.
Could I really make a difference? I've always been at home helping my mom, but now with my brother and father gone at the protests, I have strict orders to stay at home. I don't know what to do.
Nobody knows what to do in these uncertain times, but we cannot just stand by and watch our country burn. Come with me.
Long live Korean independence! 대한민국 만세! The protests were forcibly disbanded. Maria was imprisoned, tortured, and eventually released. Even so, she was determined to continue. Immediately after her release on August 4th, she and I met and returned to Chongshin High, where many of her former classmates and teachers had founded the Korean Society of Patriotic Women. Unfortunately, the organization turned out to be in a state of complete disarray.
Hi, Hyunju. I heard you were leading the New Women's Liberation Movement. How's it going?
I don't really know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I'm going to be leaving the society soon. My husband and I are taking a break.
It wasn't long before Maria stepped in to fill in the mantle of leadership. On September 19th, the society was reformed, with Maria as chair and myself as secretary.
As the old saying goes, love your country like your home. If one does not love one's own home, then that home is incomplete. The same is true for countries. If one does not love one's own country, then that country becomes impossible to preserve. We women are also part of the people of Korea, and we must continue to strive forward toward a cause of restoring national sovereignty and human rights. I sincerely hope that all women of national character will support our cause.
Maria's vision for a nationwide network of female activists proved inspirational beyond imagination. Unfortunately, it was also destined for an untimely end, delivered into the hands of the enemy by a traitor in our midst.
It was my husband that convinced me that we'd never escape our past unless we demonstrated that we could change our ways.
You and your comrades are under arrest for treason.
And so all 52 of us were detained at the Daegu police station on November 28th. There, Maria was once again subjected to the most inhumane torture methods imaginable.
Damn it, we tried everything. We tried tying her to a chair, we waterboarded her, we even resorted to sexual torture with red-hot pokers, and yet she still won't talk. Enough! This isn't working. Indict the 9 council members and transfer them to Daegu prison. Release the rest. Bring her to my room immediately. I want to question her. I see that you have written the dates in Western style. Why aren't you using the Japanese calendar?
I do not know what the Japanese calendar is.
Why do you long for Korean independence?
I am Korean. It is common sense that any Korean would aspire to independence.
But you are a woman. What difference could you and your petty dealings make?
If men can be part of the independence movement, what reason is there to stop women from doing the same?
By the end, even Kawamura had become impressed by Maria's bravery.
I must admit, you are a hero. It is a shame that you're on the wrong side of history.
Unfortunately, it was Maria's body that broke first. Despite her deteriorating health, the Japanese Court of Appeal sentenced her to 3 years in prison on June 20th, 1921. All seemed lost.
Maria, why? It's a miracle you're still alive.
Dr. Schofield.
Yes, it's me. Come now. It's been only 9 days since the verdict. We still have time to get you to the provisional government at Shanghai.
Throughout the rest of her journey, Maria continued to work alongside many of the founding fathers of post-occupation Korea, enlightening them to the fact that female activists had equal potential to be powerful. One of her friends was Dozan Anchang.
Dear God, please help us with the squabblings amongst the provisional government. At least when Maria's illuminating speech at the Representative Council today. The first woman in government? Why, if you had 10 women like her, Korea would have been independent by now.
Even Lee Kwang-soo, who had once scorned Maria's movement in Tokyo, later dedicated a poem entitled Dear Sister to her in 1933 after her return to Korea.
Dear sister, the youth, the love, the life you have sacrificed, enshrined part of our country forever.
Maria's heroic bravery served more importantly to pave the way for a new generation of female politicians.
Even though the Women's Patriotic Society was disbanded, the national publication of its ideology continued to inspire women to fight for female equality and national sovereignty.
After the liberation of Korea in 1945, women continued to play an active role in the political turmoil that followed as part of massive civilian protests, such as April 19th Revolution and the Gwangju Uprising.
Even today, Maria's legacy continues to influence prominent female politicians such as Lee Jae-jung, who has cited her as a personal inspiration.
Together, we conquered the obstacles of the past. Together, we broke the bonds that bound us within the confines of the household. And together, we look to the struggles that lie ahead.
Long live Korean independence! Stay hungry, but say